We have covered many gruesome dismemberment murder cases on our channel. Some cases are solved quickly, while others take decades to unravel. Some cases involve simple actions by the perpetrator, while others are horrifying in their brutality and dismemberment of the victim, making it hard to even imagine the extent of the crime. Such is the case we will discuss today. This case occurred nearly 2 decades ago. It is terrifying not only because of the perpetrator's actions, also because of the thought-provoking story that accompanies it. Hello. Welcome to the channel where we uncover the mysteries behind famous cases worldwide. We are Unmasked. On November 19, 2006, in Xinjiang, Zhejiang Province, China, the weather grew colder as the year drew to a close. In the evening, most people stayed indoors. Tonight, Mr. Zheng returned home late after finishing a drinking party with friends. The cold wind and snow-covered ground made him want to rush home quickly. However, perhaps due to drinking too much, Mr. Zheng seemed unsteady, stumbled over something, and fell to the ground. Fortunately, at that moment, Mr. Li was passing by and helped Mr. Zheng get up. As soon as he stood up, Mr. Zheng angrily pointed at the object that had caused him to trip. Mr. Li, out of habit, shined his light in that direction. Unlike Mr. Zheng's anger, Mr. Li turned pale with fear as he realized it was not a rock or piece of wood, but a human leg. Mr. Li immediately reported the incident to the Xinjiang police. At 7 p.m. on November 19th, investigators from the Xinjiang police station arrived at Hao village, where a body part had been discovered. Snow had started to fall, and to preserve the crime scene, police quickly cordoned off the area and erected a large tarp to protect it. Upon inspection, police found a human leg at the scene. The toenails were painted red, indicating that the owner of the leg was a woman. Due to the freezing weather, the leg had been frozen, making it difficult to determine the time of death. Police analysis suggested that heavy snow had fallen an hour before the discovery. Yet the leg was not buried under the snow, nor showed signs of snow melting on top. This led investigators to suspect that the body part had been dumped there between 6 and 6:40 p.m., around the time Mr. Li made the discovery. Unfortunately for the police, before they arrived, many villagers had already heard the news and rushed to the scene, leaving numerous footprints. Although they were certain some of the footprints belonged to the perpetrator, the current situation made it impossible to use them as crucial evidence. After an emergency meeting, police summarized the following information. The victim was female, aged between 25 and 35, according to the forensic report. The red toenail polish indicated that she was relatively well off, or at least not a manual laborer, and she paid attention to her appearance. Due to the recent continuous snowfall, travel had become difficult. Additionally, no tire tracks were found at the scene, leading the police to suspect that the perpetrator was likely a local and that the victim was also from the area. The suspect appeared at the scene between 6 and 6:30 p.m., so it was necessary to investigate anyone who had been outside during that time. The road where the leg was found was a desolate area, connecting Hao village to the main road leading to town. However, this stretch was only about 1 kilometer long, making the choice of this location to dump the body a risky one. On the cold morning of November 20th, investigators went out to continue their work. One team returned to the scene to search for more evidence, while another team visited every household in the village to inquire about any missing women. The village had over 100 households, and with the common 3-generational family culture, the number of people the police encountered was substantial. Despite this, they were determined to uncover the truth as soon as possible. At this time, 60-year-old Mrs. Zheng approached the police and claimed that the victim was her daughter, Zhao Shui Ling, 28 years old. She even accused her son-in-law, Liu Tong, 33 years old, of being the murderer. The police were surprised by Mrs. Zheng's accusation, as they had no evidence beyond the discovery of a woman's leg. Nevertheless, they asked Mrs. Zheng to provide more detail. Mrs. Zheng stated that she had not seen her daughter in over 2 weeks. Ling was the youngest of 4 siblings. 5 years ago, she married and moved out, but her home was only about 2 kilometers away. Mrs. Zheng described her son-in-law as an incompetent man who, despite working for years, failed to provide her daughter with a happy life. Her daughter had previously asked for a divorce, but he refused and would even resort to violence, forcing Ling to flee back to her parents' home in tears. 2 weeks earlier, on November 6th, Ling's brother, who lived with their mother and another sibling's family, invited Ling and her family to a gathering. However, only Liu Tong showed up that evening, bringing a pot of hot stew. The pot was something Ling's brother had instructed her to prepare. Mrs. Zheng immediately asked her son-in-law about her daughter's whereabouts. Liu Tong remained silent, quietly placed the stew pot on the table before finally speaking. "She told me to bring this over to the family. I have to get back home to Xiao Yu. Xiao Yue is their 4-year-old daughter." After that night, Ling's brother visited her home to check on her, but found out that she had left. However, when Mrs. Zheng heard about this, she immediately objected. "Ling is very obedient. If she had run away, she would have come back here, not gone anywhere else. That useless man must have done something to her." Through Mrs. Zheng's account, police sensed a deep-seated prejudice against Liu Tong. Although they were still unsure if Zhao Shui Ling was the owner of the leg, the age and timeline matched police suspicions, prompting them to follow up on the case. However, when the police visited Liu Tong's house, they were surprised to find that he was completely different from his in-law's description. Liu Tong opened the door and politely invited the police inside to escape the cold wind. After making tea, Liu Tong calmly asked why the investigators were there. Upon hearing about his in-law's suspicions regarding his wife's disappearance, Liu Tong sighed and revealed the entire story. Liu Tong explained that his wife had been having an affair for over a year. After he found out, she demanded a divorce to be with the other man. Liu Tong did not want his daughter to grow up without a mother, so he reluctantly agreed to his wife's proposal and pretended not to notice her wrongdoing. However, 2 weeks ago, Ling again insisted on a divorce and declared that she would live with her lover, leaving their daughter in his custody. On the afternoon of November 6th, Liu Tong returned home and saw a pot of stew already prepared. His daughter told him that her mother had instructed her to stay home and asked her father to bring the pot to her grandmother's house. At that moment, Liu Tong realized that what his wife had said before was entirely true, and he accepted that he would be raising their child alone. However, since then, he never saw his wife again, and she never returned to see their daughter. During this time, Mrs. Zheng often visited Liu Tong's house, accusing him of harming Zhao Shui Ling. Compared to Liu Tong's statement, Mrs. Zheng's account was entirely different. Liu Tong said his wife was flirtatious and enjoyed a luxurious life, which led her to abandon him and their daughter. However, Mrs. Zheng insisted that her 2 daughters, whom she had raised for decades, were kind, caring, and family-oriented. She also accused her son-in-law of being incompetent and abusive. During this period, the police sent Mrs. Zheng's DNA sample to the authorities for comparison. Finally, the results came in. Female leg found belonged to Zhao Shui Ling, meaning she had been murdered. The primary suspect was her husband, Liu Tong. To determine the truth, the police first met with the surrounding neighbors to gather information. Miss Zheng, a neighbor living near Liu Tong, said their families had been living there for over 4 years, and she saw Liu Tong as a kind and honest man. In the first year of their marriage, Liu Tong lived with Zhao Shui Ling's family because he was an orphan. By the second year, when they had a baby, the Zhao family gave them a small sum to build a house. Although their life was not affluent, Liu Tong was hardworking. He did all the manual labor jobs and even helped his wife care for the family when he came home. It could be said that Zhao Shui Ling was fortunate to have a husband who pampered her. However, instead of appreciating these things, she grew increasingly resentful of her husband. Ms. Zheng noted that in July, she heard a loud argument between the couple. However, Liu Tong, who cherished his daughter more than anything, stayed silent when he saw his daughter crying, and Shui Ling returned to her mother's home. Since then, rumors about Zhao Shui Ling having an affair began circulating in the neighborhood, but no one dared mention it in front of Liu Tong and his wife. If this were true, Liu Tong would have a clear motive for murdering his wife, but the neighbors immediately refuted this idea, saying Liu Tong had known about his wife's affair for over a year but said nothing, proving he no longer cared. His sole focus was on his daughter, Zhao Yue, whom his wife had agreed to let him raise. Therefore, it was unlikely that he would kill his wife. Soon after, police identified Zhao Shui Ling's lover, Ma Sibin, a 30-year-old man. When the police first approached him, Ma Sibin calmly answered all their questions. He claimed he hadn't seen Zhao Shui Ling in a while, but when asked for specific times, he couldn't provide exact detail. After a few questions, the police realized Ma Sibin was hiding something. Pretending to leave, they quietly investigated Ma Sibin's background and discovered that he was not only involved with Zhao Shui Ling, but also several other women. They found out that Shui Ling had learned of his other relationships, leading to several arguments that disturbed the neighbors. Despite this, Shui Ling couldn't leave Ma Sibin. Neighbors last saw Shui Ling at Ma's house on the afternoon of November 6th. By that evening, only Ma returned home alone. This suggested that Ma Sibin could also be the perpetrator who killed Shui Ling. On November 22nd, around noon, the police returned to Ma Sibin's house for another round of questioning. This time, Ma couldn't deny having met Shui Ling before she went missing. Ma stated that on the afternoon of November 6, Shui Ling had once again come to his house and demanded he end his other relationships. However, Ma refused. Exhausted by her, Ma decided to end their relationship, causing Shui Ling to be devastated. Shui Ling apologized and promised never to bring up the matter again, saying she would do anything as long as Ma didn't abandon her. Moved by her sincerity, Ma told the police they went outside to talk, reconciled, and were intimate. They parted ways around 5 p.m. After that day, Ma was surprised when Shui Ling didn't come to see him again. At present, the case has two suspects: Liu Tong, the husband who was close and had easy access to the victim, and Ma Sibin, the lover, who was confirmed to have met Shui Ling before she disappeared. One of the two is undoubtedly lying. Compared to Ma, Liu Tong's motive seems less likely. However, if the killer has managed to conceal the crime for 2 weeks, it indicates careful planning, so no suspicion should be overlooked. During the investigation, police learned that Liu Tong was out working on November 6 and returned home around 5 p.m. This was confirmed by the person who had hired him. According to Mrs. Zheng's family, Liu Tong visited his mother-in-law's house around 8 p.m. If Liu Tong's statement is true, Shui Ling disappeared before 5 p.m. Conversely, Ma claimed that he and Shui Ling went out at 1 p.m. and that he returned home alone at about 5 p.m. If Ma's account is true, Shui Ling went missing after 5 p.m. There is a clear conflict in their statements, yet both have alibis. So at 5 p.m., where was Zhao Shui Ling and what was she doing? Despite having suspects, their evidence has only complicated the case further. Shui Ling's mother constantly blames Liu Tong, while the neighbors suspect Ma. An invisible battle is quietly unfolding. Who do you think is the real killer? To verify, the police searched the homes of both suspects, but despite searching everywhere, from the bedroom to the kitchen, inside and out, they found no clues. How meticulous must the killer have been to leave no trace? At the police station in Xunjiang on the afternoon of November 27th, officers were deep in thought when a sudden phone call broke the silence. A trembling woman's voice reported that she had discovered a human head in a river near her house. Police immediately went to the scene described by the caller, a river connecting Hou village and the neighboring village. Miss Chen, the woman who reported the crime, said that while cleaning that afternoon, Her son's ball accidentally rolled out and fell into the river. She rushed out to retrieve it and noticed a round object floating on the water. It was getting dark, and she wasn't sure if it was the ball, but she decided to fish it out. To her horror, it was a head wrapped meticulously in multiple layers, including plastic bags and newspaper. Out of curiosity, she continued unwrapping it, only to discover it was the head of a woman. After examination, the police confirmed it was Zhao Shui Ling's head. Some of the skin had deteriorated but had not decomposed significantly due to the tight wrapping. This was truly a horrifying case, the likes of which had never occurred in Zheng. The investigation leader ordered the case to be resolved as quickly as possible. At this point, the appearance of a woman completely changed the course of the case, and she also became a crucial witness who helped to make the suspect confess. On the evening of the 22nd, Mrs. Li arrived at the police station to report the incident. She stated that she had just returned from her daughter's house in town, which was why she only came to the station today to file the report. According to Mrs. Li, on the evening of November 19th, she was invited by her daughter to visit her house. However, due to the heavy snow on the village roads, the vehicle couldn't enter, so she had to walk a certain distance. At around 5:30 p.m., she saw Liu Tong walking outside, carrying a large black backpack on his shoulder. Liu Tong didn't seem to be heading anywhere. He just stood in one place, peering deep in thought. Worried about being late, Mrs. Li didn't approach him, and Liu Tong didn't seem to notice that she had seen him. The sudden appearance of Liu Tong at the time and place where the suspect was seen further convinced the police that he was indeed the culprit. The next morning, on the 20th, the police visited Liu Tong again and questioned him about the pot of stew. This time, Liu Tong began to look flustered, explaining that he had spoken unclearly and had caused the police to misunderstand. Liu Tong stated that when he returned home, he saw the pot of stew on the stove, with the firewood burned down to embers. He assumed his wife had cooked it and left, allowing the firewood to burn itself out. However, this explanation did not align with the timeline of events given by other people involved in the case. At this moment, one of the investigating officers noticed a little girl, Zhao Yue, peeking at them from the bedroom door. Quietly walked over and started talking to her. Zhao Yue was just 4 years old at the time. When the officer approached, she shyly ran towards the bed. Understanding children's psychology as he had young children of his own, the officer gently engaged her in conversation about the surroundings until she felt comfortable enough to talk. Then he asked her about her mother. "Did your mom tell you to be good and listen to your dad? Is this a gift your mom bought for you? Do you love your mom?" Zhao Yue remained silent when asked questions about her mother, but whenever her father was mentioned, she happily nodded and said she loved him. It was clear that the relationship between Zhao Shui Ling and her daughter was not as good as Mrs. Zheng had described. Instead, the daughter's relationship with her father was very close. As the officer was about to leave the room, Zhao Yue suddenly spoke up. "Dad cooked Mom. Mom looked very scared." The officer was stunned by what he heard from the little girl. He paused and asked her a few more questions, but Zhao Yue couldn't answer. The noise in the room attracted the attention of the investigators and Liu Tong, who was in the living room. Liu Tong immediately rushed in to check on his daughter. At this moment, the officer relayed what he had just heard. Liu Tong immediately denied everything, claiming he didn't understand why his daughter would say such things. When Liu Tong expressed disbelief, the officer asked Zhao Yu to repeat what she had just said. However, Liu Tong, as a father, could not bear to hear his little girl say such words. He interrupted the officer and confessed to his crime. Finally, the murderer was revealed. But what was his motive? Why did Liu Tong dismember his wife? Truth was even more shocking than imagined. Without hearing it directly from the killer's confession, one could hardly fathom how terrifying the story could be. Liu Tong, 33 years old, was from Xia village Changxing, Huzhou. He lost his parents at a young age and lived with his grandparents from the age of 3. Due to financial hardship, his elderly grandparents could not earn much, so Liu Tong had to quit school and follow the villagers to the mountains to collect herbs to sell. At 14, Liu's grandfather passed away due to old age, and at 17, his grandmother died of a serious illness. From then on, Liu Tong had no relatives left. Unlike other children in the village, however, he was gentle and hardworking. After his grandmother passed away, Liu Tong followed a man from the village to different towns to work. After 10 years of doing various jobs, he managed to save some money. By the age of 28, although he was of marriageable age, Liu Tong hadn't pursued anyone due to his humble background. Seeing that Liu was kind and hardworking, his co-workers introduced him to Zhao Shui Ling, a woman working with them. At the time, Zhao was 23 years old, and by the social standards of the time, it was the right age for marriage. Zhao quickly agreed to date and marry Liu, primarily because she knew he had some savings. After getting married, Liu Tong loved his wife dearly. He handed all his savings to his wife's family and initially agreed to live with them. However, staying at his wife's house and his lack of education gradually made Zhao's family feel that Liu was unworthy of their daughter. From Zhao's elder brother to her mother, everyone began to show disdain toward Liu Tong. Despite this, Liu Tong remained cheerful, giving all his earnings to his wife and supporting his mother-in-law. At the end of that year, upon learning she was pregnant, Zhao Shui Ling asked her mother to allow her to move out. Initially, Mrs. Zheng disagreed. Seeing her daughter's desire, she gave half of Liu Tong's initial savings to Zhao, build a house. Moreover, Mrs. Zheng told Liu that it was money she was giving the couple, and that Liu Tong had to borrow the remaining funds needed to pay off the debt. Naively believing that his mother-in-law cared about the family, Liu Tong was unaware that the money actually came from his own saving. After giving birth, Liu Tong didn't allow his wife to work and had her stay at home as a full-time housewife. During these years, Liu worked night shifts daily to pay off the construction debt, leaving him with little surplus money. This situation further deepened his wife's family's contempt for him. Even Zhao herself began to resent her husband, feeling that she would have had a better life if she hadn't married Liu. Their relationship gradually became distant. In 2005, during a trip downtown, Zhao Shui Ling met Ma Siban. Ma, known for his flirtatious nature, wasted no time in sweet-talking Zhao. Within a few words, he had reignited the youthful longing in Zhao's heart. Following that encounter, Zhao began to dress up and care for her appearance more, frequently returning to the same spot in hopes of seeing Ma again. As Zhao wished, she met Ma after several intentional visits. This time, Zhao appeared with a new look, catching Ma's attention. Ma pretended to strike up a conversation, and the two soon confirmed their relationship. Initially, Zhao Shuiling was worried her husband might discover the affair, so she acted discreetly and behaved normally around Liu. But when Liu eventually found out, he didn't react. Emboldened, Zhao began to neglect her responsibilities, often forgetting to pick up her child from school or feed her because she was too busy seeing her lover. These incidents pushed Liu Tong to his limit, leading him to speak up. However, arguments never resolved the issues, and Liu eventually ignored Zhao's behavior, allowing her to do as she pleased. No matter how much her family scolded him, Liu remained silent, because, for him, his daughter was now his top priority. He didn't want her to experience a life like his, so he focused solely on work and his daughter. But things didn't stop there. In July 2006, Zhao Shui Ling mixed poison into Liu Tong's food, intending to kill him and live openly with her lover. The plan was discovered, leading to a heated argument in which Liu slapped Zhao twice, prompting her to run to her mother's house in tears. Without knowing the full story, Zhao's family immediately came to berate Liu, with Zhao's mother scolding him for being useless and not providing her daughter with a prosperous life. During the argument, Zhao's brother revealed that they had spent Liu's savings and deceived him for years, leaving Liu Tong furious. Despite everything, Liu still chose to let it go. He told Zhao that once their daughter was a bit older, he would agree to a divorce. For now, Liu didn't care what she did with her lover. However, contrary to Liu Tong's tolerance, Zhao Shui Ling did more and more unexpected things just for her own happiness. On November 6th, Zhao Shui Ling went to Ma Shibin and blamed him for having another woman. At this time, the two sides argued and Ban broke up with her. Ling was immediately scared and apologized. She said that she could give him whatever Ma wanted, as long as Ban did not leave. But do you know what Ma wanted? Yes, it was her little daughter. That's right, Ma Shibin was really a pervert with such a distorted view that he could make such a suggestion to Zhao Shui Ling. However, what was even more disgusting was that Ling herself immediately agreed. After that, Zhao Shui Ling took her daughter home early, locked her in the room, and left her daughter for Ma to abuse. Unmasked team's interruption. Although we have done many cases, when the translation reached this point, even the channel's editorial team was really shocked. Although we are just outsiders, as parents, we also feel sorry and indignant for Liu Tong and his daughter. We cannot understand how big Ling's ignorance is when she is willing to harm her own daughter just to exchange for the love of a despicable pervert. Let's continue the story of the case. After Ma Xinben molested Ling's daughter, she did not care for her daughter but gently sent Ma home. Unexpectedly, right when she was about to bathe her daughter, Liu Tong returned. Hearing his daughter's cry, he rushed inside. His little daughter was lying naked on the bed, crying in pain. Her lower body was still bleeding. His ears, eyes, mouth, and limbs felt numb, and all the hot blood seemed to rush to his head, making his face turn purple in the cold winter afternoon. He suddenly remembered Ma's sinister smile when he first met him on the way back. It was painful, but he knew what had happened to his daughter. Too angry, he intended to turn back and make Ma Shibin pay for his crime, but unexpectedly, his wife stopped him. His daughter was the last limit of Liu Tong's tolerance. After all the resentment that had been suppressed in him for so long, it burst out. He gritted his teeth and said each sentence with a fierce gaze. "Person like you is worthy of being the mother of my daughter? Why can you be so cruel to your own child?" Having always been used to being humbled by Liu Tong, Zhao Shui Ling replied in a careless tone. "She's just a child. Don't forget when she grows up." The immoral words coming out of his wife's mouth made him extremely agitated. He already had a machete in his hand, so he swung his arm and slashed at Ling. A sharp slash made her unable to scream. Despite his daughter still crying in the room, Liu Tong dragged his wife's body into the bathroom and continued to use the knife to cut her body into many pieces. At this moment, Tong suddenly remembered the words and oppression that his wife's family had said to him before. Angry, he divided his wife's flesh into many small pieces and put them in a pot to stew. During that time, he did not forget to clean the scene, wrap the body parts in many different pieces of newspaper, plastic bags, and hid them all behind the pigsty. After finishing, he bathed and coaxed his daughter to sleep. Liu Tong brought the pot of stewed meat to his wife's house, with a calm expression, saying that his wife told him to bring the pot of stewed meat to his mother's house. As soon as he returned, seeing his daughter sleeping on the bed, Liu Tong was extremely heartbroken. The next person he wanted to kill was Ma Shibin. However, thinking about his daughter having no one to take care of her, he decided to slowly plan his revenge later. Except for the cooked meat that he brought to his mother-in-law's house, he had hidden and buried the other parts in the snow behind the house. During the time his wife was missing, calmly took a few parts of his wife every day to throw away. Sometimes he threw them in the forest, sometimes he threw them into the river, or sometimes he threw them right on the deserted roads. It was in one moment when he was not paying attention that he threw his wife's leg on the village road. That's why his wife's disappearance case was also exposed. Originally, Mrs. Zheng should have reported her daughter's disappearance to the police. However, although she defended her daughter as obedient, her family already knew about Zhao Shui Ling's actions. Therefore, they did not dare to report to the police for fear that everyone would know that her daughter was having an affair. When they learned that the stewed meat that her son-in-law brought over that night was her daughter, Mrs. Zheng and the other family members all felt nauseous. They did not expect that the thing they had happily eaten together that night was the flesh of their youngest child. After the case was brought to light, many people did not know how to express their feelings about this incident. Partly because they were indignant at Zhao Shui Ling's actions and attitude. At the same time, they could not forgive the barbaric acts of the murderer Liu Tong. In the end, the court sentenced Liu Tong to death for murder and dismemberment. Ma Shibin was also sentenced to 15 years in prison for child molestation. The Xunjiang murder and dismemberment case ended, but somewhere there was still a child suffering all the remaining consequences. According to some articles, during the last prison visit before Liu Tong was executed, he was able to see his daughter for the last time. When she met her father, the girl was so emotional that she did not want to leave. It was not until her father comforted her that he would come to see his daughter the next day that she reluctantly agreed to return home to her grandmother's family. However, the girl was too young to understand that she had just lost her mother, and after that meeting, she would also lose her father, who loved her dearly. As for the custody, since Liu Tong is an orphan with no siblings, the maternal grandmother will be responsible for raising Xiao Yue. Although the child's father killed their daughter, Xiao Yu is also their granddaughter, so it is hoped that she will grow up well and will not look back on the past again. In today's case, there are indeed many unexpected details. Speaking of the perpetrator's method of action, it is extremely barbaric. However, the victim of today's case is also another perpetrator. Standing in the position of a mother, not only did she not fulfill her responsibility, but she also colluded with outsiders to harm her daughter's future. Except for their little daughter, everyone in this case, including the perpetrator's wife's family, are also at fault. In the end, the consequences of covering up for your daughter, braiding your own love and uncontrolled anger, are things that no one dares to think about. How do you feel about the perpetrator and the case today? Please leave your thoughts for us to know. And now, thank you for watching until the end of today's video. Goodbye, and see you again in the next videos on the channel.